Hey everyone, welcome to the stream, and it's Saturday and everyone's having fun. And I thought I'd say hi and hope you had a really good weekend so far. We're only halfway through it. And today we've got a special guest. So I thought I'd get straight into it and introduce him to you. So everyone who's in the channel so far, we've got a couple of people in anyway. And let's introduce our special guest today. It's Nolan Furnell, and let's not make that mistake again. There he is. Say hi, Nolan.
Hello, everybody.
So we've brought Nolan in today just to have a chat to everyone, and he's basically going to talk about his experience with his music and what he gets up to, and I thought it'd be good that we've got someone in the video we can bounce ideas off of. So, Nolan, tell us a little bit about, your band, and even that you did a gig tonight as well, I believe. So, let us know all about that.
Yeah, just got off stage about 40 minutes ago. In a hotel, a very small hotel room in Orange, New South Wales. And we came down from Dubbo, which is where we're based, Dubbo, New South Wales, to play. They have a monthly original music gig called Four on the Floor every month. And yeah, we're invited to come down and play, which was good. Good crowd, not a huge crowd. Apparently it was one of their smallest nights, actually, but we're still very privileged to have the opportunity to play, and it went well. The crowd was responsive, so that we can't really ask for more than that.
Fantastic. And your band is called Eraser.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what sort of music you guys do, and how it all started.
Yeah, well, I've wanted to do electronic music for a long time, but I've always been in rock bands, and mostly it was because I just felt that electronic was so difficult to. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to get into it. But finally, a couple of years ago, I decided I was just going to dive in, and we use some very basic equipment, some real amateur stuff, but it gets the job done. And we didn't really set out to have a particular sound, except that when I was discussing it with the vocalist Beck, we said that if we can get it to sound like a bit of a mix between sort of Nine Inch Nails and Ellie Goulding, then we'd probably have found our middle ground. So I know that's a strange combination, but that was the direction that we wanted to go. Now that we've written a handful of songs, we've released an EP, we're writing more songs. We're not confined by that broad rule anymore, and now we just write what we want to write because we are beginning to establish a sound that is us. But yeah, it's a little bit hard to describe. It is poppy, but there are certainly sort of darker undertones. It gets grungy from time to time. One of the things that we really love is being versatile. So we can have songs that are loud and aggressive and a lot of distorted bass and squeals and things, but then we have songs that are just atmospheric and synthy and piano based and very melodic and spacious as well. So
fabulous. And so in your band you've got a couple of members as well. Is it three? Is that right? 3 people?
No, just the two of us.
Two of you. Okay. So and you basically are kind of doing multiple roles. With those two members. So kind of your role, is it more the music playing, or is it the vocals, or what, or both of you doing it?
Yeah, I sing a little bit, but just harmonies and backing vocals. Mostly I swap between playing a few different instruments, and Beck definitely takes the lead on the vocals, but also plays piano and has a vocal effects processor, so loops her own vocals, uses it to get radio effects and distortions and things like that. So that's an element of our sound that was important to us. So we really don't want her being too preoccupied with an instrument in a way, because she's really using that processor to create a sound that's not so common in original music.
That's fabulous.
Area.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what I might do is I might just bring into the conversation our YouTubers who obviously are joining us as we are going. And so those who are on the YouTube channel right now, I've noticed that there's a few popping in and out. Make sure you jump into the live chat and say hi. It's something that I like to have everyone do and, participate in it. Nolan's here you can ask him questions as well. We're going to be, today we're going to be doing our normal segments as well. We're going to be looking at some news. I actually did have a little bit of news that came in during the week, and it actually surprised me because I thought we'd all been used out from Super Booth, but it looks like there's some more stuff that we can definitely chat about. One of the news items is actually pretty big, and I think it affects all of us as musicians, so we'll go into that in a sec. And also I've got my standard segment, which is called Funny Side. So a big hello to Inky at, I don't even know how to say it, Damn Cat Studios, I think you're saying it. So how's it going? And also we've got Colin Stevenson's, and he's from Scotland. Wow. Isn't it amazing how we've got people all over the world? I think this YouTube is just an amazing thing, and all of us musicians, we can just bang our heads together, and it's so cool. It's something that just amazes me every day. All right, so we are going to. Okay, so Inky's from Cornwall. Awesome. So we've got a bit of the United Kingdom happening already. So I think it's about 2 p.m. over in the UK, and I think some of the US audience tends to sort of be drinking their coffee and having their toast at this hour, but they do come in a little bit later. All right, so what we'll do is we'll jump straight into our news segment, and I'm just going to go straight into it. And I think the first item is something very interesting, and let me know if you can see it on the screen. It's a really weird looking thing, this, and probably a lot of you won't even know what the hell this thing is. But for those who are real geeks like me and into synthesizers, this is actually the little pin matrix that was in a very, very classic synthesizer from the 1970s called the VCS3. And Behringer have released this picture showing this is their, I guess some sort of computer-aided design package screenshot that they've done. And we know that they announced a couple of years ago that they were talking about remaking the VCS3. So this is actually really, really cool. This has only just come out today, this picture, and I think it's definitely something that's going to get a few propeller heads wagging. So that's the VCS3, and I think they're really starting to get serious, this Behringer crowd. So I think it's a massive thumbs up in my view, anyway. Okay, so what else did we have? Don't forget, while these news things come up, how you going, 888 Berg? Make sure you can chat about them. Just because I'm going on to the next item doesn't mean we can't still talk about it. Okay, so the next news item I think is a massive one, and I don't know if you guys woke up this morning and saw this one, but the famous iTunes from Apple looks like they're going to discontinue. So if you guys are musicians and you've got your music up on iTunes, I think we're going to see an end of an era very, very soon. Apple have got some sort of major announcement coming about this, and I think it's in some respects it's a shame. In other respects, it's probably cool. Who knows where the music landscape is going to go from here? But a lot of people are very passionate about the old days when we were able to get our music without being kind of controlled by big, massive companies, and a lot of people would be happy to know that iTunes is going to die. But, it was a way for some of us to make money, and it was definitely another way for a lot of us to not make money. So however you want to look at it, I'm not going to tell my personal stance on this, but, I might as well. I didn't like iTunes, so there you go. So I was quite happy to hear this news. So what did it last? 18 years, 19 years or something? That's not a bad run, I think, for something. Okay, so the next one this is going to be a bit weird looking. What the heck is this? So this was another announcement from, geez, this Behringer company is getting a lot of news lately. They keep posting all this stuff. So this is like an electronic PCB that they've taken a photo of, and they've shown it to people and saying, "Oh, look at this! We've created this," and they didn't say anything about it at all. And I think some of us who know a little bit about synthesizers and the layouts, you can see on that PCB there's slide pots. You can see it in the actual PCB design. You can see those vertical rectangles in the middle going all the way from left to right. And if you know anything about historical synthesizers, that has to be this. They're remaking the famous ARP 2600. And this is another 1970s iconic synthesizer. And God, this thing, you know, if you're talking about rock bands, and this changed the world, this thing. There were like, Led Zeppelin had one of these, you know, big, massive rock bands. They were using the ARP 2600, and this thing added that sonic template to the already amazing sounds that they had with guitar and bass and drums, but this thing just added another element of, you know, amazement. And it's, you know, this ARP company hasn't been around for a long time. It's actually really cool that this company, Behringer, is going to remake this. So, and for those who like Star Wars, will recognize that the actual R2-D2 sound from Star Wars was made on an ARP 2600. And, you know, the original Star Wars movie was, I think, they started making it around about 1976, and I think it was released in 78. So that it puts you into that 70s era. So there you go. It's definitely got a massive history. Was the Doctor Who song made on this? I think the Doctor Who song might have been made on this as well. So look, this thing's got a massive history, and anyone who's into synths or rock will know this sound. And I think that's a huge bit of news. Anyway, that's the end of the news segment. Who agrees that was a pretty big thing? You can see in chat lots of people are definitely talking about it. So, you know, Triple Eight Bergs said that the VCS3 looked like a battleship. Yeah, it did. You know, remember that game Battleship where you had the little pins and you had to give people the coordinates? That was definitely, I'll bring that picture back up. That was pretty cool. There we go. Just so you guys remember the Battleship game? You said, I'm going to, you know, row, B's column number 7. Did I sink your battleship? That's brilliant. All right, guys, that's the news segment over, and I, you know, as I promised, there was definitely some news this week, and it actually surprised me. I couldn't believe it because I thought we were all newsed out. But anyway, on to the next segment, and as you guys know, I like to do my little funny side. Now, funny side is just where, for those who are new, it's where I just pick out some stuff that I found on social media over the week, and I've actually been pretty busy, as I usually am. But anyway, let's get straight into the segment. So yeah, this was me being a bit naughty. A mate of mine went to the footy, and he bought a Mrs. Mac pie, and it took a bite out of it, and this was what was inside. Nothing. So he got his money's worth. So I had to grab this photo, and I said, when you open up a digital synth, this is what you find on the inside of a digital synthesizer. And geez, did it get some people like, it started the analog digital war again, and everyone was kind of going crazy over this meme. So it definitely did work, and yeah, I always find these things funny. And yeah, I'm just being a bit of a troll, so you know, why not? I'll cut to the next one. You guys can keep talking about it as I go. So this one was a little bit cheeky. Do you guys remember during, I think it was last week or the week before, someone was repairing a famous Buchla synthesizer, and they ended up getting LSD on them or something like that. It was just so funny. So, and I don't know if you guys know that the Korg Volcas, those little boxes that they make, they made actually, a Buchla kind of, and I've called it the Korg Volca modular. Anyway, so I've put the two things together, and this is what I've come up with. This is the Korg Volca modular LSD edition, and if you see closely there's the little lick mod. Nolan, you've probably heard that news, haven't you, about the guy on the LSD? Hang on, mate. I'm just gonna get you back in there. Say that again, buddy.
Oh yeah, what I heard on the radio was that they had a 9-hour trip just from touching it. They were just absorbed through the skin.
Oh, gee, just from touching it. Wow, that's
what I heard.
I mean, who knows? The stuff might get more potent over the years. I mean, how long had it been sitting on there for?
Yeah,
crazy. All right, let me just grab the next one. I promise there's not going to be too many of these. I was pretty busy this week with these anyway. So the next one, this one was, who's a dad in these on the stream? I'm a dad, so this one kind of makes, this is a lady at the ultrasound when you're pregnant, right? You go and see the ultrasound, and she puts the gel on your belly, and you see that, you can see, you've guys seen photos of ultrasounds of babies, right? Everyone's seen them. But if in that picture is actually Ableton, that's what's so funny about it. So someone's doctored this ultrasound picture and put Ableton. I just thought it was so funny. It's like it's my nerd side of me getting the better of me. So I thought that one was good. But probably doesn't work that well on the internet. Anyway, so next one was the last one was this one. My girlfriend sent me a birthday gift and asked me not to open it until the midnight. I'm so curious. I hope it's a dog. So I thought, now this actually came across my Facebook feed, and it's from a group that I'm on, and it has nothing to do with music, but I thought, there's a stack of drums there. I've got to put this on my stream. That was a good one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the funny side this week. It's always good to have a bit of a laugh about our little world that we're in, our music world. So yeah, there you go. Funny side over. It's hard, Nolan. We can't actually hear them laugh on the chat. But sometimes they write, get lost, you're an idiot or something like that on there. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't find anything. But usually every week there's usually a couple that I'll find. And if I'm not trolling, I like my pie post. Heaps of people were asking me where I got that photo from. I said,
yeah, that's...
it was from Optus Stadium in Perth. That's where it was from. Watching the AFL. So great. Just a quick read in chat. 888 Burger saying, even if it's a complete fabrication, another reason to explain to my wife why she should sell her kidney to fund my Buchla purchase. This is going back on the LSD thing. Oh, dearie me. Where can I buy? I'm a mum. It's brilliant. Anyway, so guys in chat, we've got Nolan here as a guest, and he's probably not as synth nerd as I am. But well, I mean, it's definitely, who could be as synth nerd as me? God's sake, I'm such a nerd. What I thought I'd mention too is, obviously the graphics and everything that I've been putting out all during the week is this. I did promise that I would talk about the Neutron, which is here, and also the Strymon Magneto, which is here. So whoever's in the chat, sing out if you definitely are interested in me doing that. So I will definitely get to that soon. It's probably a little bit more geeky than anything, though. But I don't know, for you, Nolan, have you ever... That's probably the first time you've had a real good close-up look at Eurorack, isn't it, mate?
Yes. I have to admit I don't know what level of experience all the listeners are at, but as I mentioned before, I'm kind of a beginner to electronic music, and I wish I knew far, far more, and it's a journey that I'm on. And going back to the meme you created about the digital synth, that's all I've used so far.
Beautiful.
I would love to have access to more, but what am I trying to say? It's well, firstly, we don't have a music shop where I live where they sell synths, so it's not something that you can go in and play with a whole bunch and go, yes, I particularly like this one, I'll purchase that.
Yeah.
And I guess most of my experience has been more down the line of just getting patches and digital synths and using those. But I think that there is a possibility with access to so much that I feel like I would get a bit lost in it. So I kind of enjoy the challenge of actually not having access to that much equipment, but being in a position where you've got to go, okay, well, I've got this one or two digital synth or one or two patches, and I've got to use this to create all my work, and really getting mileage out of the things that you do have.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. But that's the thing with music. We all do things differently, and it's kind of like when you're in the kitchen and you're inventing a recipe or you're modifying a recipe. You kind of you're whacking ingredients together, and it might turn out to be shit, or it might turn out to be amazing. Sometimes you have these happy accidents as well while you're doing it. So I think that's what we all get influenced from, different types of music as we were brought up and through life, and little crumbs of those influences form the biscuit or the cake that is us, and if our band or whatever. So we you were saying before that you've been influenced by many, but Nine Inch Nails was one that came up, and I'm sure a lot of the guys in the audience in the live chat would be massive Nine Inch Nails fans, as well as I am. And I remember listening to that early stuff that they did. It was, the experience when they brought their first stuff out was kind of like, wow, what is this? It's kind of like, I've never ever heard, Trent has just brought something new to the table to music, and I love it when people are pioneers like that. And look, at the end of the day, he didn't really, the gear that he was using there was no invention or anything like that, but it was the way he put it together. It was, like I said, he was creating that recipe in the kitchen, and his cake ended up being very sweet, and everyone liked it. Everyone wanted to slice. So, and we're all living off the crumbs now. It's amazing. So, I think in chat, I think you guys could agree. Hands up in chat if Triple Eight Berg's already said he was a pretty cool dude, and let us know in chat too if you were influenced by Nine Inch Nails, because Nolan here is. We were talking about it before, weren't we, mate? Your band name is The Razor, and that's actually a really great Nine Inch Nails song. But it's not necessarily why you named your band Razor, but it has definite some connotations there.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of an homage to them, which I felt they deserved, or he deserved.
Yeah, fabulous. So, guys in the chat, let me know if when Nolan talks, if there's a delay or a repeat on his voice, and I'll just see if I can troubleshoot that while we're doing it. So, Nolan, so you did your gig tonight. Is that a local pub in Outback Australia? We won't talk about exactly where it was, but Just for those people on the other side of the world, you guys know that Outback Australia is pretty remote, and Nolan was just talking about before how he doesn't have a music shop where he lives, and he tours around, different country towns in Outback Australia, and just give us a little sort of feel for the vibe that was there in the pub, and what does it feel to you when you're playing live in front of these people?
Yeah, well, they don't experience electronic music a lot. So even one of the pieces of feedback that I got tonight was I asked one of the guys that was there how it sounded, and they just said, "Oh well, I'm not sure whether everyone in the crowd liked you guys or not, but they certainly paid attention because they're just not used to, they're not exposed to this type of music." But we've definitely played at places where we've been fully aware that we were not going to earn any fans there. We travelled out to places like Brogan Hill and Lightning Ridge, which are getting really out there, and played in these tiny pubs, and they they just want you to play Kaysan or something, like they're not really interested in your artistic expression. But having said that, we have found, people in various places that really do love it, and they love it because it's different. I always think, you can have 3,000 followers on Instagram or 30,000 followers or, thousands of likes on Facebook, but it's at the end of the day, it's about the individuals that connect with what you're writing and the music that you're making. And I think you're better off having 5 people that are highly engaged than 500 likes that no one actually cares. So we've been surprised to find that there have been people that have connected with it. The response has been good. I suppose if anyone wanted to listen to it, our EP's on Spotify, but in a way, even though I wish it was kind of more hardcore, it kind of is. It has pop sensibilities. And I think we get lucky in a way because, we're rocky enough to be played loud with subs and the whole thing going, but we're not a full-blown metal band or rock band that's making everyone's ears bleed either. So a lot of the places we play, we actually feel like we get an okay reaction because we kind of sit in this pleasant middle ground of
quality music. So you're actually that's one of the things that I believe in too, is that you don't want to just bash out AC/DC, Akai at a pub because that's what they all want. You actually want to give their, make the goosebumps appear on their arms, that sort of stuff with quality music, and people will be definitely more inclined to follow you if you've got something to offer. Whereas those that just do covers, nobody's going to follow them. They're just next, and especially if you're crap at it. Triple A Berg in chat, he said, dude, that's amazing. Playing country Australia gigs, he's referring to. How did you get started? I started an electronic act, and this would be amazing. So that's for a guy called Triple A Berg in the chat. Nolan, you can't see the live stream chat, it's probably a tiny little window up on the on the right, on the left, and it's probably written backwards as well. So I'm going to be relaying the chat to you. So sure. You can answer that if you like.
Yeah. So how did we get started?
Yeah.
Was that the crux of it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if everyone will just roll around on the ground laughing when I say this, but I use FL Studio 12, which is not really one of the programs that is considered to be any electronic musician worth their salt wouldn't use it maybe, but I was introduced to that program when I was younger, and I'm familiar with it, and I know how to use it, and it works for me. One day I'd like to think that I'll probably move on to to Ableton or something, and I'm actually getting increasingly into doing some screen composing, so I probably need to start learning how to use Logic Pro as well.
Well, that's awesome.
But it has been great. Yeah. So how I got started was basically just I had FL Studio. You can get it demo for free, but I think I paid for one of the licensed products, 200 or 300 Australian dollars, and started just writing songs. Although I didn't really do too much with lyrics. I knew early on. I used to sing a little bit in rock bands, buggered my voice, and can't really take the lead now, so I knew I needed to have another vocalist. So I didn't write lyrics, and I left a lot of the melodies fairly open, because I wanted whoever came on board to feel like they had contributed to the songs and that they had ownership with them. And especially as a vocalist, they need to connect with the lyrics. They can't just sing someone else's experience. Otherwise, how do they project that and share that with people? So I just started writing a bunch of songs, and I think I went through 9 singers. I knew I wanted a female. Part of the reason I wanted to make sure I found a female was because I knew that my influence from Nine Inch Nails was going to be so overriding and so heavy that that the easiest way for me to get away from that and do something that sounded different was to find a female vocalist. Of course, now we just kind of sound like How to Destroy Angels, so maybe I didn't get that far away, but it took me about 18 months to find someone. People just either weren't willing to do the work, or they were too busy with life to commit to a band, or I had one person came in and we were sort of discussing the content that I wanted to sing, and she just wasn't okay with it, so
so how did you actually, Triple Eight Berg's actually saying, how did you actually get the gigs, like just approaching the pubs or stuff like that?
Oh, sorry,
That's right.
Triple Eight, I've completely missed your. How did we do it? Yes, well, being a part of the community of local musicians. Where I live, we do actually have a music store. It's just not big enough. They don't do synths. They've got a few guitars and a few drums and a few bits and pieces. But there's a bit of a music scene in Dubbo, and I got involved. I started to meet these guys because I couldn't find a singer for the electronic music. I started just playing in other people's bands because I can play a bit of drums and a bit of guitar, and I just thought, well, if I can't do my music, I'll just help someone else do theirs. But that's how I started to meet them. So then we just started organising. A lot of it was organised by ourselves. We got together with another band and said, all right, we'll let's do an event. We'll hire out the Scout Hall, and we hired a PA and we ticketed the event and we promoted it together. And we had 60 people there, which is a good crowd for where we come from. And then the next thing we did was just down at the pub, just down at one of the pubs, we put on a night, and then there's a community group that once a month has like musicians come in. It's a free event that they do at Midnight Cafe. We started finding things, but mostly it was through, as most music seems to be, it's mostly just through connections. So one of the other bands in Dubbo won some funding through Music New South Wales, which is a government arts body, to do a tour further out west of Australia. And we then got asked to support them on that. So we did a bunch of dates with them. And then probably about a third of the gigs that we've done have just been house concerts. We find someone in a town, usually it's a family member or a friend that's willing to host at their house, and we just take a small PA and take our band down. We usually ticket them. We've found that people are happy to pay money to attend these things, even though we only play for like 45 minutes or 50 minutes, and we're the only band, and there's no alcohol on sale. We've found that we still have a bit of success with it. So probably about a third of what we've played have just been these intimate gigs, to 20 or 30 people. We have, you could play at a pub where there might be 200 punters there, but they're all they're actually watching the football on the TV behind you. They're not interested in your music, and we'd rather have 20 invested people that have paid tickets and come to see you specifically, than play to 200 people that are just in the periphery and not really interested in what you're doing. And I think
some of those things that you said are common throughout the world. So it wouldn't actually matter whether you were in country Australia, or whether you were in Inky says he's in Cornwall in England there. And I think Cornwall's pretty remote when you look at England itself. I've actually got ancestors from Cornwall, by the way. So for the points that you were making is about, you're kind of networking with people that are music minded, so you kind of you're in the same brains trust as other people. Then you're going out and you're doing the hard work. You're pounding the pavement. You're getting things like gigs. You've got to book a venue. You've got to ticket it. You've got to then promote it, and all of that is hard friggin' work. And it's not going to happen if you just sit on your butt. No. You actually got to get out there, and you kind of have to be a bit of a networker, don't you? And you've got to physically talk, brow people. You know what I mean by brow people? You actually got to be in physical contact with people, and that's pretty much the only way to do it. So, I reckon that wouldn't be any different to any other part of the world, and it just looks like, the same old thing. If you want to get yourself out there, it's hard work.
And the other bands weren't electronic acts, like one of them's I guess one of them's a rock act, one of them's an indie act. Like they weren't electronic necessarily, but as I said, like because I couldn't find a singer, I just started supporting other people's music, and there's not in where I live, there's no like electronic scene. We're it. Like often we make jokes that we could have like a music awards, because there's one of every type of genre band in Dubbo, so every band would win an award. There's one country band, one electronic band, one indie band, one rock band. But also like we go to the other band's shows as well, even if we're not playing, and a lot of the opportunities we've been given have just been because we know people and we've built relationships with them, and we've supported their music without asking for anything in return, but we have got stuff in return. And also, I don't know if this is relevant to the question, but one of the things I will say that I like with digital synths is purely like we play live quite a bit, probably on average of once a month at the moment, which is not too bad for us. And I am very conscious about the amount of equipment that I take on stage. So while I'd love to have access to real synths for recording, I have to say that logistically, having just the laptop and a MIDI controller is by far my preference. So now we laugh at other bands when they rock up with their vans with 4 cabs and a drum kit and 6 guitars and all the crap, and we can fit our entire setup into just the boot of my Mazda. It's just we keep it fairly streamlined.
Yeah, I think we were talking about Kraftwerk the other day when we were offline, and they didn't bring all of that analog gear that they're so famous for using to their concerts. They had a lot of MIDI controllers and laptops and stuff like that, and no one cared. Like, no. Who cares? Like, you're good at twisting knobs. Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's what you can. It's all about the performance and the sound, and obviously, the performance is the act, and you're sort of engaging with the audience, and the sound is, obviously the connection visually to the connection audibly to the audience is the most important thing. So, if your thing works that you use digital synths, then use digital synths. Heaps and heaps and heaps of massively paid musicians use digital synths. So
yeah.
I for one, I've got digital synths here, so I don't say anything bad about them. I do make my meme jokes about them, but it doesn't mean I don't like them. And in fact, I do. There's a digital synth that I absolutely talk about all the time. I've got plenty, but there's one that I talk about all the time, which is it's going around now for a while. But I use it for so much stuff because it's just so deep, and that's the Korg M3, and I've had that thing for a while now. And geez, I mean, the thing has got like so much it could do. You could play an orchestra in it, sequence with it, create MIDI files with it, sample with it. I mean, geez, it's like having a laptop, but it's actually a synth. So people do diss the digital stuff, and I can completely get it that they, unless they go out like you, Nolan, you're performing in that, that whole part of managing your act and making sure that you're portable and you can set up quick and there's less points of failure and all that sort of stuff, they all come into it. Yeah. So it's funny because when there's heaps of people who probably watch my channel and hands up in chat if you're one of these who probably have never played live yet, and they're probably getting to that point where they're writing music, they're starting to get good at what they're doing, and these sort of conversations that we're having now, Nolan, is going to be worth their weight in gold for them, because they're going to start to realise the moment that they start loading the boot of a car up, when they start to go out to the pub or wherever it is that they're doing the gig, they're going to connect everything up. They're going to make sure the sound into the mixer, and you might have some sound guy there who thinks he knows his shit, and then you got to deal with him, and
Yeah.
the mics might be pinging, and you got the whistle sound. There's all so many things that could go right or wrong, and you've got to you get to a point where you think, now this is kind of working for me on a regular basis. I'm going to stick with that. What would you say? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, when we first really started doing the band, we had to make a decision because we felt that there were two ways to it. I mean, once again, with the Nine Inch Nails influence, it was extremely important to me that there was a huge performance element. When we played live, it had to be interesting to watch as well. And it wasn't going to be good enough. Well, we had the choice. We could either stand behind a table with sequencers and drum machines and pads, the Novation launch pads and things like that, and everything could be triggered in real time and everything could be played in real time. But it meant, in my mind, that the performance element would suffer really badly. And also, Beck and I can actually play instruments, so we didn't want to have this perception, that we were just pressing buttons on stage. The alternative, though, which has always felt a bit cheaty, was that we went, okay, so the alternative is to pre-program just about everything, so that we're not stuck button pushing, but it frees us up then to play other instruments. So I play keyboard and bass and sometimes drum pads live. In reality, that means that our songs, when we play them live, are probably about 60% of it is actually virtually a backing track. We have it loaded up and you press the button and the song goes. And there was a part of me that felt that was cheating a little bit to do it like that. Even though I know and and everyone listening knows that, hundreds of hours goes into the programming before it ever gets played live. But what it means is that we're free to, we can pick the bits we want to play. So there are some parts where the drums might be in the recording, but live they're taken out of the backing track because we play those live. And there might be the bass parts in the recording are taken out of the backing track because we play the bass parts live, and the piano parts are taken out because we play them live, and so on and so forth. But doing that means that once the song has gotten started, we can focus on playing live instruments. We play a bass, and you can play it through a bass cab, and you really get to feel it, and it's got the human element as well. And the way that we ended up sorting that out, I don't know who the genius was that I stole it from, someone on some Reddit chat or something or another. But when we write the backing tracks, we build a click track into it. We program a click track in, but we pan it hard right. And then when we send from the computer, we go into an audio interface digitally. And then when it goes out from the audio interface, the right send goes into in-ear monitors. That comes to us, so we get the click track, and the left send goes to the desk.
Yep.
So the front of house get everything else, but no click track.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many people perform with loops and things like that it's buggered up live. Sometimes it's because they can't hear themselves properly in the foldback, or they might be getting a delay off the back wall from the drums or whatever. And we were just like, whatever we do, we can't bugger this up. So it's quite an elegant solution.
I think it's quite common. I mean, like the mixer that I've got here, it's sitting on my desk, literally beneath that Neutron, is a Presonus Studio Live mixer, and it's got 4 auxiliary. You can use them as sends, you can use them as click tracks, whatever, or you can use them as groups. So if you want, say, 4 different musicians to have different mixes going to them, you can do all that. And then the bigger the mixes are, the more groups you can do and all that sort of cool stuff. I don't know if you agree with me, but when you first work with click tracks, it's weird. It's something that you do have to grow to get used to, because it can throw you off, because natural timing is different to computer generated timing. And we tend to race as humans. We tend to be ahead of time. It's just the way we are. We do reset ourselves, but we tend to race, and we in a normal sort of human type timing environment, we will sort of go faster and reset ourselves. Yeah. But when you're working with the click track, you have to. From. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, just going to say, even just adrenaline when you're playing live, inevitably you end up speeding things up.
Yeah, you do.
Crazy speeds.
Yeah.
I had a bit of experience with click tracks because I'd done recording as a drummer prior to that, so it wasn't so alien to me. But certainly when I first started using click tracks to play drums, it was very hard to get used to.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So when I do my stuff, I do a lot of my stuff is sequenced, and I play live over the sequences. So I do a lot of the melodic stuff over sequences. So I use arpeggiators and programmed sequences which I transpose, and but all of the melodic stuff, whether it's if it's playing live or even just when I record, I do it manually, and I don't how do I say it? I don't record the MIDI notes and then play it back and then change it. I kind of just, if I don't like the way it sounds when I'm recording, I'll redo it. Like the old days when you were in a recording studio, the guy behind the glass, nah, not good enough, do it again. I'm kind of doing that to myself. And I find that when you do actually produce music, it has a bit more of that sort of organic feel to it, because you're kind of, you want the people to listen to it to feel how you're feeling when you're playing it. They have to feel like they're in the groove. So, if it's all just really punchy on 4 beats, it's just not going to work. It's going to sound too computerized. So, that's cool, man. Just in chat, I've just noticed that Inky was saying that you could put 2 Novation circuits and you can rock a club together. You certainly could. I mean, those things are killer. So cheap too. He also said that he uses an Akai Force and an MPC Live, but a circuit that he controls his hardware for live playing. The tricks are super cool with 2 Chaos, and so it sounds like he's kind of like a DJ with producing sort of setup there. That sounds really cool, man. And Akai Force, I mean, that thing's, I don't know if you've seen none of those, Nolan, but those things are only just been out, not even 12 months yet. And it's kind of like a sampler, and you just press pads and it launches clips and things like that. So, I mean, those things, you could pretty much run a whole gig from just an Akai Force.
Well, I mean, one of the other reasons we didn't go down that path as well is that because we do write with pop sensibilities, it's that the songs that we write have a structure, and that structure stays the same every song. So there was really no need for us to have the capability to extend parts or, I suppose as I'm going to say real DJs as opposed to the DJs that just load up a playlist on their laptops and press play, but ones that are actually manipulating their tracks in real time, was something that we were never going to use. So it wasn't really... don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising that. I'm just saying because our songs have the same structure, we play them the same every night. So we didn't really need to have that capacity to go, actually, we want this drum bit to go longer or anything like that. So, I guess it doesn't have that much for what we're doing. The capability to be able to change those things isn't really necessary.
Yeah. So I mean, with me, I kind of, it's kind of similar. You got your backing tracks, whereas I've got my sequences, and what I tend to do is I don't like to structure songs as such. I mean from a hardware sequencer point of view, as a song, not from a music point of view as a song. Of course, you're creating a song from a music point of view because that's what they're hearing. But from a hardware sequencer point of view, a song is where you string a number of sequences together in order to create a song. So you might have sequence 1 might be your intro, sequence 2 might be your verse, and then chorus, and then a refrain. Do you know what I mean? So I don't like to do that. What I tend to like to do is have sequences that are flexible, and that way I can just leave them on and loop. And if I want to ad lib and add stuff off or mute parts of it or whatever, I've got the ability to do that, and then that becomes more of an organic situation. And then I'll find what I do is I'll have pre-programmed sequences where I can jump from one to another, and I'm not actually forced to do it when it wants me to do it. I'm doing it when I want to do it. And so sometimes I might end up playing something longer than the previous time I played it live, or I might play it shorter. And it's kind of like an organic thing. You get better at it, you know what I mean? So you got to go out there and play. That's the trick.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, look, we don't have a lot of gear. We're using a program that's not, widely used. It's fairly cheap in the scheme of things. Just using, I think it was $120 MIDI controller. But I think, I think this is not going to be everyone's approach, but for us, wanting to play electronic music but feeling very overwhelmed at the start about what we would need and how much we'd have to spend and all of that to do it. I feel like we've been able to do it without having to spend that much and without needing to have that much equipment. And I would love to have racks of synths down my wall, but that's not the reality for me at the moment. And I guess the only reason I say that is just to say that perhaps if people are feeling like that is an obstacle for them to be creating electronic music or be performing electronic music, it doesn't necessarily have to be. Like, you can certainly get started with a relatively cheap and simple setup, and you can still do it. So I guess it really depends what you personally want out of it,
Yeah. Inky was just telling. I think she was telling me off. I don't know. Maybe I mentioned that I thought it might have been a him and not a her. She's saying that she's a her. So sorry about that, Inky. If I said you were a he or a she, I didn't mean it. At least I didn't call you something else. Anyway, gee, that would have been terrible. But yeah, so I think what we'll do now is just so if there's anyone watching this, because this obviously more of my live streams go up onto my channel, and people do tend to watch these later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link to Nolan's group Erasure to his Spotify. And when that video does go up on YouTube, there'll be a link down in the description to get to his Spotify, so you can go check his album and everything out. And for those who are in the chat now, in probably a few minutes' time, I'm gonna link to it in the actual live chat. So, but definitely go check his stuff out, because he's taken the time to jump on here and talk to us, and I think it's the least we can do to say thanks to him for sure. And just so you know too, it's about what is it, getting to about nearly 1 a.m. over there, mate?
Yes, that's right.
So you must be getting pretty tired.
Yep, I'm ready for a shower in bed.
Yeah. So I mean, you're more more than welcome to hang around if you want, or I'm happy for you to leave if that's what you want to do, because I know you probably want to hit the hay. But I'm going to jump on next, and I'm going to show the what do you call it, the Behringer Neutron, and because there's some guys here definitely probably want to see that. So and just while we're talking, I did promise that I'd get this Spotify link up, so let's quickly grab that. Just waiting.
While you're doing that, I just thank you very much for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and as I've said, I'm by a long shot not an expert in electronic music or anything like that, but you don't have to be, I think.
No, you don't have to be. No, that's cool, man. No, it's more. We're more than happy, and in fact, it's perfect for what I want to do in my channel. So the Spotify link is in the chat. So it's perfect for what I want to do in my channel, because my channel is all about musicians talking to musicians. So I don't want people on here who are selling stuff. I want people on here who are using stuff. There's a massive distinction for me, and everyone who's on my follows me knows that I buy all of my gear. I'm not being paid by anyone, and so it's purely just a love thing. And to get all the different people's opinions, and we can talk about stuff. It's awesome, mate. I'm more than happy for you to come back too, so we can talk about that another time. Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, you know, tell us in the chat if you guys definitely liked having a chat to Nolan. Definitely there was a few questions from him, and, you know, he wasn't prepared for that, so he did really well, I thought. Charlie's saying hello, so he's just joined in. So beautiful.
Where's Charlie from?
He doesn't say. Charlie, tell us where you're from, mate. And while we're doing that, this is just... So, Nolan, you're still on, but I'm just going to show everyone here that the Neutron is still here. And... yeah, there we go. So, and have I got it running? Okay, I need to unmute. All right, so this is what it's like being a YouTuber here. Can you guys tell me if that's coming through? So that sounds very, very, what's the word? You know, echoey and everything like that. And what you were actually hearing then is the Magneto. So I've got the output of the Neutron. You can see this little blue patch lead here going into the left in of the Magneto. Now, the one thing that I love about the Magneto is, hang on a sec. So let's go back to here. So Nolan, Charlie's saying that he's from Germany. So we get him from everywhere, mate. Trust me, it's awesome. This is what I love about this thing. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, every stream there's people from parts of the world that you would never ever dream of.
Yeah.
So back to this. Excuse me. So that's going in as a mono signal, and then the Magneto has two outputs. It's got a left and a right output, and because it's a tape, you will get that stereo, you know, left and right separation with this. So you can come in, it's a mono, come out as stereo, which is one of the big things about this. A lot of the Eurorack stuff is only mono, but this is actually a stereo thing. And I don't know if you guys know, but there's a big thing at the moment for stuff to be producing a stereo signal. Now, I'm not just talking about effects, because this is effects, right? I'm also talking about filters and all sorts of stuff. Can you guys not hear me? You guys can hear me, right? Someone's saying quiet. Let me know if you can hear me out. Ba. Okay, that's definitely coming out. So in the chat, let me know if this is if it's still coming out, because we had Nolan just disappeared off the link. So the stream still shows that it's running. Hoping that the stream and everything is still going okay. Let me just check on my. I'll do a self check. Hoping that the stream. Yeah, beautiful. All right, so I'm definitely coming out. So yeah, let's get stuck into the Neutron. I'll be absolutely 100% honest with you. I've only literally just screwed this thing in to my Eurorack today, and I have absolutely no idea how to use this thing. So all I've got is the MIDI plugged in, okay, and I've got. Let's just have a look at the little patch that I've got here. So that we talked about the output. That's just the sound coming out of it. And I've also got this one patch coming here, and this is called MIDI gate, and that's actually controlling the clock on the Magneto. So for those who were wondering about the Neutron without the Magneto, what I'll do is I'll just turn the wet signal down on the Magneto. So let's do that now. right, so that is that's basically just the sound of the Neutron on its own. Now, just remember too, a little bit of architecture on this thing. I'm actually finding this, with my knowledge, I'm actually finding this to be really, really intriguing. This whole thing here, I think it's got some very, very heavy, kind of electronic, as in audio engineering type electronic stuff in here that would, at the moment, it's probably way over my head. And it's not necessarily going to be way over my head forever, but I'm going to need to learn it. And just looking at the layout of this thing is massive. It's so super cool. You've got on the left, you've got the oscillator section, and you've got the filter section here. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with each of these. You've got the LFO here. Then you've got things like noise and VC. We won't even go into those yet. Then you've got this these two envelopes here, and then you've got a whole bunch of functions. And the reason why I bought this wasn't necessarily because I needed another synthesizer. Definitely didn't need another synthesizer. I actually got it because of all the functions that this thing's able to do, and it's huge. So what can it do for me? Well, from a Eurorack point of view, it's got this massive mod matrix here, and all of these mod matrix things can do a whole bunch of different stuff that will make the purpose of why I'm getting into Eurorack going to be much more helpful. So for example, you've got sample and hold, you've got a slew system here where you can slew, you've got attenuators, you've got separate envelopes that are CV controlled or CV output. You've got you can even use these oscillators as control voltage sources if you want. You don't actually have to use this as a physically sounding thing. You can use this as a modulation thing. And even just for the 5 minutes that I've had this thing going, MIDI gate. I mean, how cool is that? So MIDI coming in, and there might be a MIDI clock coming from a sequencer or from your DAW, and then you've got this CV MIDI gate system here. So for those who would buy a separate module just to do MIDI to gate, don't need it. You've got that in the Neutron. Plus you've got all that other stuff that you've got. So from a Eurorack, point of view, it's massive. So hands up in chat who would get the Neutron because they want to make noise with it. Who would get the Neutron because they want to make noise with it and do all the Eurorack stuff, or people who are just so intrigued with using this thing as a learning tool? Be interested to know. Okay, so 888berg's asking me, can you explain the input you've put through? That is it an Ableton sequence or a key step? Right, he's saying that he's not so great at making MIDI sequenced, but that's fine, man. No problem at all. This is just a key step here. Can you guys can see my little camera on the top left hand corner, and you can see me holding the key step up. So when I play the sequence that's built into the key step, and I just hit the play button on the key step here. That is just from the key step. So in terms of how you program a sequence in the key step, that's not for today, but that could be coming from your DAW. It doesn't really matter. The Neutron takes the MIDI in on the front, but it also has USB connectors on it. So let's go to my camera so you can see me in full. All right, just for everyone, this is the box that the Neutron comes in. So when you get the Neutron, it's in a standalone box, all right? And you can see it's got the the power connectors and everything on the back, and other side here you've got USB, MIDI. There's a whole bunch of audio connectors in there. Okay. So when you get the Neutron, that's how it comes. But you can take the Neutron out and put it into your Euro rack, and it comes with another cable that powers it in Euro rack. I'll just show you that as well. Ooh, sorry. So these are all the cables that come in it, and there's your Eurorack cable there. So it's a 12-volt power rail, that is, and that came with it, and it also comes with a whole bunch of patch leads too. So I was pretty impressed with how much you get for this particular synthesizer. So Triple 8 Berg's got the black one. Oh, a key step. Yep. Yeah, I got a white one and a black one. Inky's saying she's got a Neutron as well, and a mono station for noise and learning. That's awesome. I managed to get Neutron weirdly making noise with MIDI input, but yeah, your attempt at modular. Well, you know, you don't have to use MIDI in modular, as we all know. You know, you can just have everything control voltage. This is the extent of my modular. I've only got it's called a 6U. This is a rack brute from Arturia, and as you can see, there's heaps of gaping holes here for extra modules. So I'll probably end up growing with this modular stuff, but you know, who knows. The whole point with me with Eurorate, the reason why I went down this path, and let's call it a rabbit hole really, because it is I wanted to add like a crazy, who knows where it's going to go, you know, modulation and effects type thing for me, a palette that I can create, something that's, you know, never been done before. And you know, the Neutron's got that massive amount of control there. The Magneto is just insane what it can do. For those who don't know, the Magneto is a 4-head, it's all digital, right? But it's a 4-head tape delay. It's also an echo machine and a sampler, like a looper type thing. And all of the sides and bottom and that are all control voltage. So it's a digital emulation of a 4-head tape delay, but it can get absolutely nuts, this thing. And you can mix it with the dry and the wet signal, and you can just have just the wet signal coming out. What I do love about it is it's also got a spring reverb on it too. So if you just want to use it just purely for the spring reverb, you can do that too. So yeah, in terms of the Neutron, we were talking before about how it sounds and everything like that. One thing that we should all remember too is it's got the 3340 VCO chips in them, and you know, the 3340 VCO chips are pretty iconic. So they're a CEM or a Curtis chip, and I don't know if you guys know, but Behringer, they bought out a company that were making these. I think they're called Call Audio or something like that. So that meant that now Behringer have the ability to, you know, reproduce a lot of stuff that had the 3340 SAM chip in it, and I think the MS-101 has that in there. So, you know, there's heaps of stuff that it has in there. But what that means for you and me is that the oscillators themselves were very, very capable just as a chip. Like, you could literally have hardly any other bits of electronics with it, and it would do a whole bunch of stuff. And you can see just with the Neutron how much this thing can do. It's crazy. Triple Eight Berg is saying that the Magneto is kind of like the Roland Space Echo. It is, yeah. I mean, I've got one of those Roland Space Echo or Boss Space Echo pedals that's like a remake. I did think this could sound similar to it, but at the same time, this can sound completely, bonkers as well, which that can't. Nicky saying Monostation has a CV gate and extra CV control. That's why both the sequencer and yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of what I'm doing here, it's going to be different to what you guys are doing, with your music. But the whole point of it for me is I can feed an audio signal in to the Neutron as well. And I don't necessarily have to use the oscillator or anything in here, but I can use all of these functions here. And then I can modulate them with things like the LFO, the envelopes, the sample and hold. And then, once I've done that, I can then go through the Magneto. I've got the Roland Scooper. Do you guys remember this? This came out when Roland were doing all the IRA, A-I-R-A stuff. And they've stopped making these now. They did, I think, 4 or 5 of these modules. There were Tuxedo, Demora, obviously Scooper, and there was another one, I forget what it's called, Bitraiser or something. And they all did different things. And the reason why I got this one and not any of the others is because it was kind of like the scatter effect that you can have on the System 1 synthesizer. And I really wanted to be able to have a scatter effect because I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And just put my own audio into it. And that's what this gave me, the ability to do that. Plus, it's got control voltage control. The only thing I don't like about it, though, is at the moment I'm getting a ground loop noise in it. Oh, God, this ground loop noise is just annoying. So I'm going to have to work out how to fix that, because as soon as if I've gone out of the Magneto and into here and then out of here into my mixer, I get a ground loop noise and it's just unusable. You can still hear it and everything, but you can hear this horrible underlying ground loop noise. So yeah, please do a sample and hold video. Sample and hold is how do I explain it? It's basically you've got a waveform that's it's oscillating, right? And what a sample and hold circuit does is it takes a snapshot of that waveform and holds that, and then it outputs that. So, and it does that fast or slow at the rate that you're telling it. So why don't we have a look at it? So let's get this thing going. Right, so we've got, let's take the LFO out of the filter. Sample and hold. And sample and hold. Where are you? Sample and hold in. LFO out. We don't need to do that, actually. That's going to be annoying. Sorry, I'm just going to turn that noise off for a sec. Where is my sample and hold on here? There. So sample and hold. And we want to so you can see I've got the sample and hold going into my VCA, and that's just doing that to the VCA sound. You can do it to an oscillator. Let's just listen to that one oscillator. So that kind of sounds like a random stuff, right? So that's pretty much the effect that you're going to get out of sample and hold. But you can apply sample and hold to, like I just did, to an oscillator or to a filter or even to a modulation source, and it does that kind of randomizing craziness. And, you know, faster you go, the more crazy it sounds. So the trick to us musicians is to master the controlling of the sample and hold, I think. I'm just trying to catch up with chat. There's a lot going on in here. Yeah, do a picture of the sample and hold. Yeah, well, anyway, like, you know, 888 definitely could be something that we could do in a video, that's for sure. I need to learn more about it too, man. So, you know, we can learn together. What do you guys want to see? I haven't really shown much on this, have I? Do you want to have a listen to the oscillators without anything else? Let's just do that. Let's take that patch out. Okay, so you've got two oscillators, and they can both sound exactly the same, and they can both be used together or on their own. And basically how you control the output of the two oscillators is through this mix. So basically you that's the two together. That's the oscillator 1, and that's oscillator 2. Alright, so with oscillator, doesn't matter which oscillator you use, they're both the same. You've got this variable shape. Now, in this video, I wish I had set up my oscilloscope like I do in some of my other videos, because this thing is, you know, this thing is crazy. But see how you've got all the different oscillator little diagrams down here. The thing with this that makes this so cool is that every single one of these can be controlled with CV. See how I'm moving that shape knob, and it's slowly going between the different oscillator types, the waveform types. So, you know, I'll definitely be doing a video on showing how that works, but this thing can be controlled with CV, and there's definitely a shape thing in there somewhere. Forget where it is. You know, you can control that. Not only that, but both oscillators can be combined together, synced, or they can be made as paraphonic, which means you can actually play two notes and it will play each individual oscillator separately. So that is super, super cool. And the range is just literally the you know, the pitch, the octaves that it's on. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about quickly with the oscillators is the P width. Okay, so that's this here. The P width affects the first two wave shapes, which is tone mod and square wave. So when you adjust those knobs there, it will affect the the pulse width of the square wave. Okay, so let's have a listen to that. So let's. So that that is literally, that pulse width is literally going, if you were to look at a waveform that of a square wave, that pulse width is going to the point where the two square wave verticals are actually closing together, and it's virtually making that waveform making zero noise at all. There you go, it's almost off. I mean, this thing is, it literally has got so much control over it. Yeah, and that's, I think Inky, what Inky was saying is in chat, she was saying that sometimes you come up with these really cool ideas and you love the way it sounds, and the only way to remember how you did it is to take a photo, because these things don't have patch memory, right? So, I mean, technically your patch memory is where is remembering where you plugged all the patch leads and where you set all the knobs. So yeah, crazy. I mean, this synth works without using any, so it's kind of, what do they use? They call that semi-modular, I think the term is, where you don't have to have anything patched into it. It will still work without that. So you can, it's got its own inbuilt patch system with all these controls here. But obviously, once you patch something in, it overrides that circuit, so you can use it that way. Yes, pulse width modulation, that's right. So that's the oscillators. Now, so remember that these are the Curtis oscillators, so would I be right in saying the Curtis oscillators were also in the Prophet, or some of the Dave Smith stuff? I can't remember anyway. So, have I managed to get the Beast to self oscillate yet? No, because I've only literally had this turned on for about, what's the time now? 3 hours. I've literally only had this turned on for 3 hours. I ordered this from the UK. Again, this is another purchase I've got from the UK. Yes, I could buy these in Australia, but I ordered this one from the UK, and I ordered it on Monday, and it got delivered on Friday evening here, my local time, and literally had stuff to do with my family and kids and everything this morning, and literally only had this turned on and plugged in for 3 hours today. So, this is what you guys would be doing if you had one. You would be trying everything out and working out. Like right now, I can't even work out, because I'm going to sound like an absolute idiot here, how to stop that from happening. I've got no notes being played, but it's making a continual sound. So I'm guessing that it has something to do with the way I've set it up, and I haven't worked it out yet. So, but that works for now anyway, plugging that into VCA in. Yes, I look like an absolute fool, but who cares? This is why we're all users here. Who wants to listen to the filter? I think that's the most important thing next. What do they say about the filter in this? They definitely say the filters, there's something special about this filter. Let me just have a quick look. It's a 12 dB filter. Okay, so that's important to know. So it's for 12 dB filters do tend to sound more resonancy, I find. And it doesn't actually say what type of filter it, like thoroughbred, as in like, does it come out of an MS-20 or anything? They don't say anything like that. So who knows? But 12 dB filter is important to know. Okay, so grill patch. I wish, mate. I wish. John Cuba, you're a funny man. Okay, let's try the filter. We need Krell sounds. Alright. Now that's the filter with so this is just the frequency knob on its own. Definitely 12 dB, I can hear that. Alright, let's put the resonance to about a quarter. top, middle, out to VCA in. Let's try. Top, middle, out. No, yeah, no, I won't do that. But that's all right. We'll sort that out later. So that's a quarter of that. And that sounds resonancy already, and that's only a quarter of resonance. Let's put it to half. Now I've got this has got this overdrive circuit here, so I don't have overdrive turned on at all. I've got tone turned halfway up, and I can already hear some sort of distortion. Can you guys hear that? It's kind of like Harmonix distortions in there. Definitely top, left, or middle without going to look. Okay, I'll try it again. Top left to VCA in. That's keeping the tone constant, and it's the opposite of what I want. It's definitely to do with whatever that is. It's definitely to do with the gate. So, all right. So, I don't want to blow your ears. I reckon if I crank that resonance up more, it's gonna. You guys ready for it? Do you want me to go 3/4? It's already getting resonancy now. It's whistling already. That's gonna blow your ears. I'm not gonna go any further than that. Trust me when I tell you that this filter is really, really resonancy, and that's actually a cool thing. There's 3 modes too. Obviously, with the filter too, you can do low pass, band pass, which is the middle one, and the top one is high pass. So we can try these. So it could be a resonancy, is it? Yeah. That's awesome. A resonancy band pass, I like that. And let's try the high pass. That is so cool. I like that. I mean, for me, I'm definitely going to be enjoying that filter. I tend to like 12 dB filters. What do you guys think of 12 dB filters? And you know, give me an example of what's got a 12 dB filter that you've got that you like. I mean, for me, the one that comes to mind immediately would be the Arturia Mini Brute or Micro Brute, which has got the Steiner Parker filter in it, and that's 12 dB if I remember rightly. What else have we got? So with the filter, you've got mod depth and envelope depth like in most synthesizers, so we can muck around with that. Put that back to low pass. The LFO has a variable shape. I love this variable shape stuff. This is cool. So most LFOs that you get to have will have a switch or a button that you can choose whether it's going to be a sine, a triangle, a sawtooth, or a square, whereas this one actually you can vary between. So that's actually going to be another benefit to this. And I can not use the oscillators and just use the LFO to modulate something else. And now I've got control over exactly what sort of waveform I want the LFO to be. It's got its own noise generator. Now the noise generator is... Did I tell us what it was? Noise. Output. trying to find it in the manual so I can tell you exactly what it says in here about noise. Noise is white noise, and it's injected into the filter. So that's your signal path. So the noise goes straight into the filter and then out through the VCA, and it's just white noise. So let's listen to that. That's cool. Ah, VCA bias might have been what it was that was causing that. Inky, I found out what the problem was. If you're still there, it was I had this VCA bias knob, which is I think it's just kind of like a VCA gate thing. So now that is turned off. Beautiful. That's a nice sounding noise. I like that. Inky's gonna stick up for the 24 dB club. You're in the Moog club with the ladders. You like the ladders. 12 dB is better than 24 dB, says 888 I don't know. I mean, the base station too has got both. Some synths have got both, and it's nice to have both. Maybe they should have put both in this, so then there's no throwing coffee cups at each other. Okay, LFO. I mentioned noise, and we worked out what the VCA bias is now. Yay! I don't seem like a fool now. Well, I am a fool because I didn't work it out. Envelope is your standard ADSR envelope. We just don't need to go into that. How snappy are the envelopes could be something that we might want to look at. So let's have a look at the filter with an envelope. I think it uses envelope 1. Oops, turn the noise off. Okay, so the envelope depth of VCF is definitely pre-programmed to use envelope 2. So there you go. This is what I love about live streams, that you just look like an absolute idiot because you don't know what you're doing. And that's, I'm game enough to pull something I've never used out of a box that I literally just got delivered on my front doorstep yesterday and chuck it in and plug it in and share it with you guys, because I think, hey, that's how we roll here in the big cities. So what do you guys think of those envelopes? Pretty snappy, you reckon? I reckon I probably could. Trying to work out how to get the oscillators to calm down a bit. There you go. That's pretty snappy. If you're in an argument with someone, you can say, "Don't get snappy with me." Sorry, we shouldn't be doing jokes on YouTube, should we? I reckon that's pretty snappy. Anyway, that is the envelope. Now, for those who don't have one of these, it's got the Bucket Brigade Delay, BBD. And what did they tell me about this? I remember having a quick look at the manual before at this, and I thought it was... It definitely says it's a Bucket Brigade Delay, but I don't know if it's a real one or not. Can anyone confirm that in chat? Is it actually a real, like, as in, like, did Behringer actually put a actual proper MN3390 or whatever they're called, that the old original 80s bass BBD chip? Mikhail's saying hi to everyone. Mate, yeah, won't be doing JDXI this week. We did it when we did JDXI. Was that last week? But yeah, definitely send me some questions. That's no problem. Oh man, Neutron, and John's talking about using his Neutron with the Moog Mother 32 and the DFAM. Drummer from another mother. And the O-Coast. I can't get an O-Coast unless I buy one from overseas. I can't get an O-Coast, and if I buy one from overseas, they're extremely expensive. I don't know why. There's just some... Make noise are just very, very difficult to deal with in Australia. So maybe one day I might get one of those. Inky saying the Neutron won't shut up. I know, I want to get it. I want to get one, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can plead to them to send me one for free or something. God, wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so we were talking about the delay, the Bucket Brigade Delay, and I wanted to find out if it actually had a real BBD chip. It definitely says it in its description that it's a BBD. 8192 stage delay. Let's see what that says about 8192 stage delay. See, this is where it starts getting technical, guys. Sorry, my keyboard's really loud when I talk. It's like if I just did a Google search on it and it came up with Pittsburgh modulator and it's talking about analog Bucket Brigade delay lines. So maybe it does. Can anyone confirm that, if it's actually an analog delay? Because that would actually be cool. A lot of people in the synth world, I think we're divided in the synth world. Some people don't care whether something's analog or digital because they're just after the sound. But when you start getting into Eurorack, sometimes the analog chipsets make a massive difference to how your whole patch might sound, and because you aren't having problems with digital oscillation or resolution, anything like that, because analog is just pure. So yes, lo-fi. Yeah, lo-fi. I love lo-fi, you know. In fact, the cool thing about this is it's got the delay in and the delay time that you can control with CV gate, and I don't know, can you actually send the delay out without going through the VCA on this thing? Maybe you can't. It does have the, don't forget, it does have this assign thing here, and I actually have to learn how to use that. You guys who've got Neutrons already will know you can assign stuff to that bottom right hand out CV, which is pretty cool. Actually, but before we start going into the rest of this, the overdrive and the slew and attenuators, because that's where we start getting into that, what do you call it, the audio engineering sort of side of things. I think it's probably a good segue to actually talking about one of the reasons why I bought this was, for those who know me know that I love Moog pedals. I've got recently I've just got their 12-stage phaser one, and I've got 4 or 5 other Moog and when you start getting you're going down that rabbit hole of all the Moog stuff, one of the things that you probably want to get yourself is one of these CP251s. It's kind of like a box, and it's got attenuators and slews and sample and holds and LFOs and stuff to help you modulate and make your Moog work better for you. And I priced one of those up, and it worked out to be about $600 or $650 in my country's Australian dollar, Then I worked out that I could get a Neutron, and it's got 2 attenuators, it's got sample and hold, LFO, it's got slew, and then it's got a bunch of other stuff, like for example it's a paraphonic synth, and the price of this thing was only $400. So it was a no-brainer, to get this. So do you guys understand the logic here? So Neutron is made by Midas at Manchester. Those guys are geeky and really The guys at Midas are brilliant. One thing, who's in the chat now and doesn't have a Neutron, I'm telling you, these knobs are beautiful. If you ever think that Behringer make crap gear because of the old name that they used to have for themselves, this does not have anything crap about it. The knobs are just absolute. In fact, Inky talked about Midas. I don't know if you've ever used a Midas mixer. This is before Behringer. They had beautiful sliders and knobs on their mixers as well. These are absolutely beautiful. I mean, this thing's probably made in China, no doubt, but the quality control part of the overseeing of the design and everything, and what parts that they use, and when they did the prototypes and they decided to try all different components out, they've decided to use these. I absolutely love these. They feel beautiful, and they're not, how sometimes you twist a knob and there's a resistance on it, but the resistance isn't constant. It might get weaker or it might get tougher as you go. The resistance on these are constant all the way through, so that if you're performing, you're not making slips. It's really, really nice. And they're all the same. Every single knob has the same, I feel they have the same resistance on them. So Mikhail, I've got the DeepMind 12 as well, so it's the same. It's good quality. To get a Moog these days is hard because they've stopped making all of them, or most of them, I think, now. In fact, I actually emailed Moog a month or two ago about getting the delay one that they had, because they announced that you could go into their Asheville store and get they've remade about 200 of these delay ones, and they never replied to me. So I'm not going to jump on a plane and fly to Asheville in America just to get a delay pedal. That's just crazy stuff. But I thought I'd try my luck and see if they could put one in the post for me, but they didn't. They weren't interested. So interesting company that sometimes they do some weird things. But if you can get hold of one, definitely get hold of one. I think they're going to go up in value. I mean, I'm not an expert on. I mean, who cares about value if you're using them for sound? But sometimes it's important to some people. The one that I got recently was the 12-stage analog phaser, and it was sitting in a warehouse in Sydney, Australia, and it had been sitting there for years. And I was just, every time I go on this website, I'd search for a whole bunch of other stuff, and then I'd search for Moog, and it would always pop up. And I thought, one day I'm going to get this if I have some spare cash, and I ended up buying it, and this thing was brand new in a box, sitting in a warehouse. So if you're lucky, there might still be some around the world. It's up to you if you want to pay postage and things like that. So definitely worth getting. They're really, really good fun to use. Just reading the chat. Yeah. So they're just backing up what I was saying about the quality. Okay, so I think we're kind of done just basically with the Neutron. You guys definitely are more than welcome to ask me to do things on this, and hopefully I can do them. But can I move, is it okay, guys, if I move on to the Magneto? Because I did promise, there's people probably in the chat room who came just to look at the Magneto. And I've only had this for a little while as well, and I'm only just new to using this. But what I thought I'd do is run through the echo side. Notice here's a button here called modes, and you've got echo, loop, and sample. I haven't had much of a chance to learn how to use the other two modes, but the echo I'm kind of okay with. So I thought what we'll do is we'll just run a sequence through it, like this. Tuning it a bit. Right, now I'm just going to take the dry mix out of this, and I'm just going to put the wet mix in. Oh, doesn't that just want to... That's beautiful, isn't it? You know what, guys? Strymon makes amazing effects. They really are. Until you physically experience it, you know, you probably won't notice. But I mean, I don't know if it's coming through on YouTube, but this thing is sounding beautiful. Now, you can mix the dry in again. So it still sounds good with the dry. Alright. I'm just going to turn that sequence off and it's going to drive us crazy. So what you can do, I mean, that's just literally 2 tape heads. I've got 4 tape heads that I can play with. See how there's these 4 here? I can turn them on and off based on, you know, the time division of the sequence. Okay, so and there's a switch here. You can go from even to triplet to I forget what the one down the bottom is, shift, and it does some crazy stuff. So I'm going to quickly show you those things. It's really cool what this thing can do, and then we can muck around with the speed and pitch. And what that does, it's, if you guys remember anything about tapes, you can slow down, you know, the motor on a tape, which will, you know, slow the pitch or increase it. So it's got all that ability to do that. And then plus, on top of that, down the bottom, you've got all these other features to do with the tape. Like it's got a low cut filter. Now, when I say low cut filter, and this is to do with tape low cut. So if you go back to the old cassette days or reel-to-reel tape days, that's what the low cut means on this. So it's not necessarily like a filter on a synth. It's similar sort of idea, but to do with tapes. It's got a tape age knob, where when you turn this thing, it's, you know, as tapes got older, they got stretched and they started becoming erratic. So you can do that. It's got a crinkle. Do you guys, who remembers tapes when they used to crinkle? So it has a crinkle mode. It's got wow and flutter, which a lot of tapes had, and that's where the motors and the belts and, you know, you'd get tapes fluttering across the tape head. And you don't have to use any of that. If you want, you can just use the spring reverb on this thing. And the spring reverb works. That's max. That's without it. Okay. So let's put the delay back in. Let's add some more heads in. Turn the 4 off. Then we'll adjust the speed. That's the speed. And the low cut. So it's cutting out the lows. Nice. Tape age. So it's kind of degrading the quality. Right. The crinkle. This one's good. Here it's sort of breaking up. Mix that with the age. See how you can really mangle your sound with this thing. Right, and then you've got wow and flutter. So the wow and flutter kind of makes it sort of sound sickly. Right. Now, the other thing to mention too on this thing, it's got these feedback heads here. So these knobs here are the actual tape. Imagine if you had physically 4 different tape heads running the tape through it. And these are like the feedback controls. So as the tape would loop through, it would feedback on itself. And you can make this thing self-oscillate, and it's crazy, crazy, crazy. Yeah, like an old Nagra. Absolutely. Yeah, it does. It does. This thing sounds... It's digital, but it sounds so real. It's unbelievable. So when you've got the feedback, you use this repeats knob here, and it can absolutely go crazy. So let's try that. It's great. I mean, this thing can go bonkers. Anyway, and then on top of that, we've got this switch here, which enables us to change between even time divisions, triplet time divisions, so they can try that. And then you've got shift. This is crazy. I'm getting sick of that sequence. It's doing my head in. I hate things that go over and over and over again. Sounds the same, but it helps you guys hear the different effects though. Okay, so that is literally just on that echo mode. And then you've got sample and you've got loop as well, which I haven't learned how to use yet. But basically what you would do, it would be like a looper pedal. And then you can control speed and pitch and things like that. Now, the thing for me that makes this thing better than just playing with the knobs here is all of the CV stuff on the outside. And now you can see the little idea that I've got going here, right? So I've got all the stuff that the Neutron can do, and I can feed that. Like, for example, I can feed that sample and hold circuit into the speed. Let's do that. Now I'm controlling the sample and hold from here. Now we're starting to get some craziness happening, right? Going crazy, what's happening? It's like your sound card, your synth just died or something. So, I mean, this is now a Neutron controlling the Magneto. And this is why, oh, sorry microphone, and sorry for your ears there. This is why I've got myself into Eurorack, because I love this stuff. Being able to do that with a normal guitar pedal, that, you know, there's 4-head tape delay guitar pedals out there. You can't do that. This is you know, a new territory for sound design and sound, you know, crafting. Now I don't know if I'd like that sound, you know. That's not exactly musical, but you get what I mean. The possibilities on this thing are endless. You can CV control for all of these functions. And I don't even know what half of them do at this stage yet. What do you guys think so far? You have to learn to love your digitone. I don't have a digitone. I know it's an FM Electron. I've got an Octatrack and an Analog 4. And I use the Octatrack. At the moment, the Octatrack is the only sampler that does kind of live resampling and mangling. It's incredibly advanced for that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I can see the Octatrack coming in with this sort of stuff as well. Definitely learn your digitone for sure. Yeah, I mean this Magneto is definitely going to be featuring in some of the stuff that I do. And I just thought, you know, you guys can listen to it. Do you want me to show you the problem that I've got with my scooper? I'm sure you guys are probably wondering what the scooper's about. So pardon the ears for a sec. In fact, actually, what I'll do is I'll save your ears. I'll mute that channel. There we go. So we need to go across the back here. Okay. Okay, the scooper is now in, and we're going to go get some cables. Alright, so coming out of the Magneto, okay. Straight away, can you guys hear that? There's nothing going through. It's all that static noise. Let's take that sample and hold off. So that's what the scooper does, and right now I'm getting probably about I want to say about minus 50 on my mixer of static noise that's coming through this. So not happy, Jan. I don't know what's causing it, but I find a lot of the Roland gear does get very susceptible to, if you're plugging it into USB, especially the boutiques, if you plug them into your PC, you're going to get ground loop noise on those things. It really is frustrating. They need to solve that. For me, that's a massive issue. And it's kind of unusable. You can't use that in a recording. Left out, right out. We got sound. Cool. Listen to that. I've stopped playing and it's still gone. That's the repeats here. This thing's as deep as an ocean. I definitely think it is. Okay, so catching up to chat to see if I've missed out any questions. So Mikhail's saying it's a pretty steep learning curve. I agree, mate. I think it's very steep learning curve. I felt as soon as I got this Neutron that a lot of this stuff here, there's probably some of this stuff that's going to be over my head and I'll never be able to work out how it works properly. And there'll be probably happy accidents or bad things, but I think there's a bit of like, how would you say it? Engineering. There's an engineering feel to this. So if you're a musician and you don't know much about electronics and synthesizers from the audio engineering world, a lot of this stuff might go completely over your head, and I don't blame it. If you probably, I know some guys that have bought the Neutron and sold it because it was just like, whoa, this is just crazy. Like, I can get a sound out of it, but yeah, it's just too complex for me. For me, I like the challenge of learning, so I'll definitely get stuck into it. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. yeah. Triple Eight Berg sounds like it's like World War III fallout. This thing, I forget what Strymon said it had in it, but it does have a really big, like the Strymon Big Sky pedal that they've got. It's got a very big memories for the sample and feedback loop. It does have an infinite mode here on it, so you probably can't see that because of the shadow, but just under that number 1 marker there's a button, and then underneath that there's an infinity mode, and you can actually control that down the bottom here with control voltage. So you could get this thing literally to drone, and it does have some drone features in here as well, and I haven't even got it into that, and I want to get into that. Just I do run the risk of too much gear, not enough time. You guys have heard of that dilemma, right? So, it's kind of one of these things that I'm never going to be an absolute expert on any of this because I won't have enough time to become an expert on it. So, yeah. Look, this is why I call my channel the Geekery. It's kind of its second name. I probably should have called it the Geekery instead of Ranzee, but that's me. That's just me. I'm just a nerd when it comes to this stuff. This stuff, it just excites me, And some other people will think, what the hell is this guy on getting excited about? This stuff's boring as anything, But that's just me. I like this stuff. I noticed in chat you guys were talking about what sort of stuff you like playing, what sort of stuff you've been influenced by, and we had Nolan on the channel earlier about an hour ago, and he said that he was influenced by Nine Inch Nails, and that's where his group is sort of got its, you know, not necessarily the only thing, but it's got its kind of roots from. And you know, I also liked when I say liked, like as in present tense, I still like them, 9 Inch Nails. But for me, there's a lot more of synth influence from me. Like, you know, my dad, when I was a kid, he used to play. I was born in the 70s, so he used to play things like Pink Floyd. He had all the Pink Floyd albums, but I think the one that he played the most when I was younger was Wish You Were Here. And I don't know if you guys remember Wish You Were Here. It had a couple of tracks on there. Shine On You Crazy Diamond obviously is the big one, and it had, you know, Moog, Mini Moog in it, and it was amazing sounding synth in there. But there was another track that they had on that album called Welcome to the Machine, I think it was called, and it was all synths, you know. So that was a great album. Obviously Dark Side of the Moon. So there was a Pink Floyd influence for me. But as the 70s turned into the 80s, you know, I obviously got a bit older and started forming my own likes. And I think around the turn of the end of the 70s and the early 80s, I started following Joy Division and New Order from the UK. And probably I started picking up on Joy Division after they got themselves out of that punk sort of style that they had originally. So I wasn't really into that, but definitely loved the guitar and bass element that was influenced from that punk era that they had. But the fact that they brought in some of those early synthesizers that they brought in, and then they formed obviously New Order because Ian Curtis had died, and then that just went off on another tangent, and I absolutely loved that journey, and I lived through that with them, so that was kind of a big influence on me. But yeah, so you know, I'm just talking about from my own experience, you know, the sort of music that I listened to when I was younger, and I feel that a lot of that would be influencing me in the music that I make. And one of the things I'm big on is trying not to copy what they do, or what they've done, so that, you know, you can have it as an influence, but you don't want to recreate what they've done, because, you know, they've done that. Let that be theirs. So for me, you can definitely combine influences from multiple musicians and mix them in your way, and that can be your thing. And I think that's kind of what a lot of us do. So yeah, I didn't get a lot more questions on the Neutron, and a lot of people are saying toodaloo. So yeah, I might actually probably wind it up in a sec, guys. So let me know in the chat if there's anything else you want me to. I think we run out of time. We were going to look at the System 8, and we didn't even get a chance to do that. So maybe what we'll do is we'll put the System 8 on the agenda for next week. What do you guys think? System 8 next week, or do you want to do something different? It's just not, yeah. I mean, really, to even cover this in a live stream, and this would probably be separate videos, and yeah, we're just playing, you know, we're just chatting to each other and playing. So yeah, it's definitely the System 8. I know there's people that have come here because they wanted to see the System 8, but hey, I'm running out of time. It's just so much to cover. We had a special guest on. So, by the way, I'm putting this out to you guys. You know, if you guys want to be on my live stream, definitely hit me up. You can find me on Facebook. It's just Ranzee on Facebook. Just look me up. I think it's called Ranzee Official. There's links in my YouTube channel to all of my socials. So there's Twitter, there's Facebook, or you can even just send me a message. If you guys want to be on my live stream, and you're prepared to show your face as a Skype call, let me know. You know, it's a good opportunity for you guys to definitely expose what you're doing. If you're a musician, you can definitely give yourself a plug. I don't mind doing that. But yeah, I mean, the kind of the basis of what we will talk about is more about us being musicians and users of gear. That's kind of the basis of what my live stream's about anyway. So definitely let me know if you want to do that. And it looks like you guys aren't too bad with doing the System 8 next week. So yeah, let's put that on for the agenda next week. I do apologise we didn't get to it, but I think a lot of you realise that the System 8 is a massive synthesizer, and even on my live stream, if I just do that only in a live stream, we probably won't even get through it either. So definitely, we'll just muck around with it like we do. Any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we can say, hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. What is it over there? It'd probably be about 4 o'clock in the UK, and probably about midday in the US. So hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. For me, it's just after midnight here in Western Australia, where I am, and I'm in one of the most remote cities in the world, and not the most remote, but one of the most remote. So, I do like to do my stream so you guys are still around. See, 9 a.m. in California. So, Gator, you've just had your coffee and toast. It's good for you to join us. Absolutely. And I do apologise if you guys jumped on the live stream and you were wanting to see the System 8. We just didn't get a chance to get there. It was just too much. But anyway, let's leave it at that, and we'll talk next week. And don't forget, it's 2 p.m. UTC time on Saturday. UTC time is you adjust your clock whether you're plus or minus from UTC. And so if you're in the US, it'll be 10 a.m. in New York. And if you're in England, in London, it'll be about 2 p.m. And in Australia, where I am, it's 10 p.m. So there you go. Saturdays, I think I've only ever missed one so far, so we'll see. Definitely try and get there again next week with the System 8 anyway. Thanks very much, everyone. Give us a thumbs up in the video, and don't forget, if you're not subscribed, to subscribe. Much appreciate everyone and being here, and we'll catch you next week. See ya.